Gundam. Wait. Mobile Suit Gundam. Extreme Maxi Boost. Extreme versus Maxi Boost. On. It's the longest game title I've probably ever played. It's getting in that same territory as the time I got reincarnated as a slime, or like those ridiculously long anime titles. Yeah, it's funny like, looking up the category for this game because it's so long. Like, you gotta be really accurate with the wording. And then even if you acronym it down, it's still like a whole word's worth of letters. But this game was cool. I already played Gundam Versus before. This is like the better version of it. And I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Did a similar thing with Legacy of the Duelist. They made a better version of that, but it's just like a slightly updated. It's like a whole new game, but it's under a whole new game, but it's still the exact same game. It's so weird, the packaging. But I played Gundam Versus. The only reason why I didn't do a video on that is because I don't remember if I ever. There's a lot of Gundams to try out. It's not a game where there's a beginning, middle, and end. It's kind of just. There are credits, so that's what I kind of base it off of. Is like, well, you do like the first branch, and then there's credits at the end, so I beat the game, right? There's like a final boss at the end. But I also did every other branch too, or at least tried to. It does get harder. Like the bottom ones are a little harder. Since I knew what I was doing in Gundam Versus, I just kind of I got into this pretty quick and just started going at it. And one of my current goals right now is to just try out each Gundam, get the unit proficiency at least up to 1, and then be happy with that. I got Gundam Wing to 2. But I can't imagine like every single Gundam, or at least even just the ones you want, like getting it up to 5 stars. That sounds crazy. You could spend a ridiculous amount of time playing this game, and that's what they intended. If you're playing the online game, or version, the mode. I only messed around with the PvE one, but it was cool. You fought. It's the same opinions I would have had if I was sitting here talking about Gundam Versus. I might still do something with that one day, but I don't know. I guess it was just easier with this version of it. It's cool, like all the pilots and the Gundams and the choices, the options, the bosses, the fights. Did this game have more Gundams than Gundam Versus? I would say yeah. Kind of like how Yu-Gi-Oh! That game, there was more battles, more cards, supposedly better animations. This game did feel better. It felt more simpler in Versus. It felt more user-friendly. Like navigating the menus and the settings and kind of getting things where you want it to be is very easy to do. And granted, there wasn't really much to it in the first place as far as stuff like that goes, but it was just, yeah, a much more refined and enhanced version of Versus, which was nice. There's almost too many Gundams to pick from. I don't even know who half of them are. At least in Versus. I don't know, it's tough comparing the games. I think Versus was a lot. I want to say I did like the menu more, like the Gundam selection menu. Because it felt like that art style and the even just the navigation part of it, it did feel a little bit better. I think this one, I feel like they added some stuff, but they also took some stuff away. Like whatever quality came from Versus, that was kind of not really there. I don't know. Like the battles and stuff looked and felt exactly the same, but even just comparing it to the overall UI and all that, like Versus animation or the pictures, the graphic art style, it was a lot more shiny and kind of, it just looked cheaper and like more budget friendly. Like I think they really nailed the artwork in Versus a little bit more. But if we're talking just in the sense of the menu, that's not really the overall picture, but that's considering that's how you pick your Gundam and go into battle, and it's kind of a big deal in that way because you want to like appreciate it. I don't know, this one is just like really colorful, boppy, stuff everywhere, you know, hey, this is a better version of the game. It really made that, try to make that clear. At least with Versus, it was kind of a little bit more low-key, got right to the point. It was a little bit more raw. I did like the menu a little bit more. The only thing I didn't like about one was the repetitious Gundam, the first season, the theme song, like that really old. I realize for those who probably watched Gundam back in the day, like the very first season, that might be nostalgic to them, but to me it was kind of like, ugh, it's a little too old for me. Just kind of funky. It was just, they didn't have much music. It felt like that was one of the only songs that was in the game. It's been a while now where I don't remember exactly how it go to the music. Was it every other battle? Was it the end, the beginning, in the middle somewhere? I don't know. But it just felt like that song just kept popping up over and over. This one, they were much more truer to the animes. I guess that's a good way to put it, is not so much in the graphical sense, but more on the music, the trailers, I just felt like there was more there. And unfortunately, this game doesn't have like any of the current stuff that would have came out recently. But what I was hoping with is that they would have had, because stuff always releases in Japan first, so I was like, oh, maybe they have some of the stuff we got here in the West now, the English stuff, and then they would have like had even that much more selection in there. Because you almost look at it and you're like, wow, every season's here, and that might be true. But there's so much Gundam that I wasn't able to really identify or relate to half the Gundams in it. But there's always going to be a Gundam and a season for somebody out there. For me, the only stuff I really knew was like Double O and Seed and Unicorn, you know, the basics, right? Wing, obviously. Endless Waltz, which is, they kind of separated a little bit here, which is interesting. The series from the movie, I guess. And yeah, they had a couple of gold Gundams. I don't know if they had any gold Gundams in the Versus game, but that was really cool to see because I used to have a gold Gundam toy, and I don't remember which one. It's either Hayu Shiki or the other one. They both have like Japanese names, so whatever the other one was called. Basically look the same, just some slight differences. It's funny though, the gold Gundams are kind of weak. And you think of Char, or Char, however you say your name. Like he technically is one of the pilots or something, I don't know. It's weird to think of a whole Gundam that's like solid gold, or at least gold plated or painted that way, right? It's kind of cool though, very unique. Yeah, the cutscenes are good. Yeah, this is a good time. It's a good game to play for like 2 or 3 days or whatever ended up actually happening. But it's cool though, because if you ever want to kill time or jump back into it, because a goal of mine, just something that'd make me feel better, was get each mobile suit to 1 star. I thought that was fair. That way I have an excuse to still kind of play it and try out each Gundam, each suit, because they're all very cool and unique and fun. It all plays the same because of the same mechanics, but there's always going to be like this slight difference in learning each one, and I thought that was kind of, it's just a good time. Like if you finish up another game early, or you just want to like take a break, maybe listen to music on the side from other games, like just regular story driven single player games or something, like what I normally do. It got repetitive, just doing the same fights over and over just for the sake of guarantee at least winning that first fight to get that 1 star with each guy. But then it was cool because I'd go down the branches and make it harder for myself, because I've already done most of the easy stuff anyway. Like I don't want to play one Gundam for too long, because then I'm just kind of wasting time. Like you only really need that first match anyway. But with how quick that can go, and with how good that you basically become after, you know, playing a bit of it, like you know what you're doing, you can handle yourself, and even though if you're not playing 100%, it's still a fighting game. Even though you're not maybe playing as good as you could be, it's an easy enough game to just kind of pick up. And but one thing I'm doing currently, even let alone a little while ago now, is going down the branches. Like, hey, since I'm trying a new guy, how far can I get within the branches? Because you never know, that one Gundam might be the one Gundam that, like, even though you have your favorites, it might be some Gundam you've never even thought of maining before, and all of a sudden, like, you're actually kicking some butt. And you're like, oh, who knew? Cool. There's always going to be that one Gundam that just feels good in your hands, and like, it's very compatible, just like being an actual pilot and being one with these Gundams. Like, it's no different than Mortal Kombat or Tekken or whatever. You know, you get to try each one and be like, ooh, this is working. This is going somewhere. A lot more than I thought or would have expected. So that's kind of fun. It's frustrating going from one Gundam back to back, because you start to get used to one, and then it's like, okay, now the next one. And it's frustrating learning their systems. Thankfully, you start out easy enough going down where it's not really, you're just jumping into the hardest one possible and getting your ass kicked. Like, you don't even get the chance to, like, try out their weapons and abilities. And yeah, the cool thing, my thing with Gundam is, like, there's so much of it. It's very spammy. It's very, you know, saturated. Just all the shows, the Gundams, the pilots, the seasons, the whatever. But they found such an amazing, just like with Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, they're so good at spreading out and thinning out something so well put together. Even though it does kind of, it's more or less all the same thing, right? But just kind of like, hey, we have one standard model, basically the first Gundam to go off of, right? And then, oh, we're gonna add this and do that, just like the actual Gunpla, actually. So, it's really cool how they were able to do so much with so little, and that's what I can appreciate about this game. And yeah, between this and Versus, these are the only games I really ever exposed myself to as far as Gundam goes, and I've always loved anime games like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And whatever, but I know there's other Gundam games out there. There's SD Alliance, there's just modern accessible games. Breaker, Battle Operation 2, which I did play some of that, and then Operation Code Fairy. I played the first episode of Code Fairy. I might play the other 3 episodes because I did like the animation style. The only thing I didn't like about that could be a whole nother video, but basically what draws me to this game is that it's just really, it's 100% anime. With some of the other Gundam games, like SD are very small, chibi style. I'm not really into that, to be honest. I used to have a couple SD Gundams back in the day, but when you compare it to the real thing, the bigger, it's not really the same. They're like baby. I don't know. I'm not gonna get a game like that. And it's expensive, even on sale. Like, I love Gundam and I want to use its name, but at the same time, it's like, this is kind of my, this is my go-to Gundam game. I realized Battle Operation 2 has like a, you know, it's an online game that has a community. I just don't like the CG graphics. I have the same issue with that in some animes too. Like sometimes, like Ghost in the Shell, for example, I think the CG anime is very pretty and very pristine and clean. But it's weird, man. I'm still not used to it, even after all the ones I have seen CG in. But now we're talking about an anime show. In the game world, it works, and I like the realism of it. May as well just go on about it now, but... And it's cool, and it's heavy, and it's realistic, and the pilots are this big, and it's believable, the scope and the scale, and... But this is the only other kind of art style to compare this game specifically to, is because this one's just more faster paced. You think of Mobile Suit, very quick. You know, maybe not everyone's into like the real slow stuff, but what's neat about this game, at the very least, is that you get the option between going fast. And if that's more your playstyle, I love fighting games where I can just go quick and I can get in there and ground pound and get out, do the match, be done with it, move on. And that's what I love about this. You can just really just go. It's exhausting, especially playing this for like 8-ish plus, you know, give or take hours in one session, but what keeps me going is because of what I'm doing right now, is trying out each Gundam. But yeah, the whole going slow thing, it is more tactical, and I can appreciate that. I'm very, like, if I was gonna do that, I'd rather it be in like Rainbow Six or something, like a tactical first-person shooter where you're actually having to, it's not just run and gun and twitch shooting and quick and 360 no scope. I like crouching and like taking my time and picking my shots and being like deadly and special forces type stuff. But I don't really want that with my Gundam games though. I want to just kind of kick some ass. Like, I think that's all anyone wants at the end of the day, instead of like this kind of nonsensical. Because this game, as fast as it is, it takes about more or less just as much strategy as going slower. You know, it is about surviving, it is about landing your shots, it is about not getting hit, it is about finding cover and strafing and finding and boosting the right direction, up, down, left, right, forward, back, whatever. And even that's not really easy to do with so much going on at once. This game can be very chaotic and quick, and next thing you know, like, you're dead, or depending on the battle you do, or... Those hard ones, they don't give you room to breathe at all. Like, you're getting smothered and you're getting knocked down, and... It can be pretty brutal. Like, even as good as you might think you are, you head into some of those harder matches and... Holy cow. But yeah, the gameplay's good.
俺のミスだ読めているぞこちらを演じる円に要請するそこだ終わった
Yeah, the only Gundam games I'm really messing around with are ones that I can get on PlayStation. It's just more convenient. I don't really, I'm sure, especially throughout the years, there's just been so many, and there might be other ones that I might like even more, but for now, I'm just really thankful to have this game and to be able to play it and to express my fandom for Gundam and anime as a whole. And it was especially fun, like turning on music and listening to some EDM, some dubstep, whatever. It really went with the mechanical part of it all and the robots, and it was just fun listening to anime music. I had a good time. Some of the thrills I get out of some anime games, this is what some people don't realize. It's like, I've enjoyed some of these games more than most games, like actual, real, legitimate, like AAA, normal, regular games. So there's definitely something to be said there, and you know, I want to support these games and feature them, and I wish they'd get more attention and more of a budget. And I've said this in previous videos as well, that I want these games to do well because I want them to be good. I know with most anime games, it almost doesn't matter what it is. There always seems to be some kind of like budget disconnection. Like some of them obviously have a lot more money or more popular, more trendy than others, and it depends when these games are coming out and what else is going on at the time, other shows and movies that are related to it. Is there some kind of like anniversary or birthday thing? It all kind of depends. It depends what port, it depends, maybe some of the older games are even better than the newer ones, I don't know. But it makes me, it makes me curious to see what other Gundam games are out there, but then again, I could see the exact same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon for that matter. Like, you can't, it's hard to play all of it, you know? You gotta have more consoles, more ports, PC especially, and hopefully not dealing with emulation and bothering doing that, and maybe even just going back to getting the older physical games and then getting the actual consoles that go with them. I don't know. But for now, today, I'm happy to have this game, and it's a part of my anime gaming profile, and it's cool because I can squeeze it in there with Yu-Gi-Oh! And etc. But what's nice about Gundam is that I kind of look at it very differently than all the other anime games I have, because it's growing up with Gundam and being able to play Wing Zero with Hero and seeing Troa, Barton, and what's their names? I'm trying to be cool and remember their names. And Katra and you know, the whole gang. What was the Chinese dude's name? Yeah, they're obviously Troas is kind of the easiest to remember. Hero Yui, that's his, and then Relina. I was really glad to see her in there. Yeah, they really, you could tell they definitely, Gundam Wing was the first, well, it was my main Gundam I played with. That's how I got through most of the game, was with Gundam. I didn't get through the game with Gundam Wing Zero, unfortunately, which I feel like I would have rather done because of Angel Wings, but I was pretty happy with Wing. Because I'm a lot more biased towards the movie than the series, but the series is obviously just as good. I just watched the movie more, and I had the movie and I was more exposed to it, so that's kind of more of what I was trying to go off of, but yeah, I felt good representing. I know it's a very mainstream basic, simple choice, like, oh, Gundam Wing, who doesn't? It's like their highest I realize there's other cooler Gundams out there probably, but it's tough to beat Wing, man. It's so good. You got Heavy Arms and Sandrock and Tall Geese. Death Scythe, whatever, you know. It's so good. What was Tall Geese's pilot's name, man? It's so fun to say. I love their names. The only other chick I wish that was in here was like as your navigator, your kind of like what Relena did, basically. I wish it was that little girl with the hat. I like her. She's sassy. Oh, now I'm trying to remember. I don't remember it by heart. I'd have to see it, but it's Tall Geese's pilot, man. Like, I noticed that with all Gundams, all the pilots' names are so unique. They are not normal names at all, but I think Wings definitely stood out to me. Yeah, the game itself, with how good it was laid out and with how many options you had, it's cool. There's like all kinds of stuff to unlock, like a normal fighting game. You know, name cards and titles and emblems and a lot of personalization. Like I had the Zion logo. I had like a rainbow like UI that showed you all your, you know, your stuff, your ammo and your bullets and missiles and all that. And it had, yeah, I love my nameplate. It's so fun. I have like a White Devil, and then like 2 samurai swords, and then like a Northern Lights effect with like a visualizer in the background. It is. I think they have a better nameplate customization than things like Tekken, actually, for example. Mortal Kombat, whatever. Heck, even like Call of Duty, and Call of Duty's like huge with they have so many different stuff for that. No, this game's impressive. It's way worth it. It was fun. I don't regret it at all. And it really does make Versus seem so outdated because it is that much. It basically, I mean, once you get this, there's really no reason to play that game. Other than the points I made earlier where it is slightly different enough where if you want to be more biased towards that game, there's definitely no issue with that. Or it's just more of this to play. But to go back to it would be kind of crazy because, you know, it's just one of those things. Same thing with the Yu-Gi-Oh game. I think the Yu-Gi-Oh one definitely kept a lot more. It was literally 1-for-1 with the original game, but just some slightly added on stuff. This one, they kind of really changed a lot of things. Like in Versus, the menu was downwards, and I kind of like that a little easier. Or a little bit more. Like this one was very vertical, so you'd have to be kind of scrolling through the series to find the ones you want, or... And the artwork to feature the suit, it just didn't capture me. Like it was very pretty and colorful and vibrant, but I think this game was leaning too much on the whole, like, hey, we gotta be more poppy, and it just didn't quite seep in as much as the first game. But obviously that's because we would have normally played that game first, so I mean, yeah, it had a lot more originality to it, but yeah, I can't wait to kind of complete more of what I wanted to do in there, which would almost be sad too, because if I don't find a reason to come back to it after I get my little mission done, I don't... But that's the cool thing though, is that you own the game, you can literally play it whenever you want. Like, it'll always be there for you, and if there's stuff to do, and just, you know, great. I want to say you probably get your proficiency up a lot more playing the multiplayer, obviously, and you just be naturally playing it that much more. But the PvE is still fun. Like it's still interesting to see how good you can get and with what Gundam and getting that proficiency up and actually completing every fight. There's even, like, I try not to give too much away, but yeah, there's some extra surprises in there and mysteries and yeah, like every time I've been coming back to it, even if it's just for a day or whatever, a couple hours. It's pretty sweet. There's that excitement level just kind of I don't know, whatever. Yeah, Gundam. Or wait, what was the whole title again? Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme versus Maxi Boost on.